Thank you for joining, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about Power Platform fundamentals, and I am Lasse Teeriaho. I'm co-founder and Power Platform advisor in a company called Forward Forever. And Forward Forever, we focus 100% on Power Platform, and we have been doing that for plus 5 years already. But yeah, on the agenda today, first I'll cover the Power Platform fundamentals, like telling you the basics about all of the technologies that we have in the Power Platform stack, and then I'll give you some ideas how you possibly should start building the solutions by utilizing the whole of the Power Platform, and then I have a quick hands-on demo that shows you what you can quickly start building with Power Platform once you get started, and hopefully in the end we still have time for some questions. I try to answer as good as I can. But yeah, let's get to it. So let's start with the basics. Microsoft Power Platform. Hopefully you have some idea what we are talking about here, but it is Microsoft's low-code platform that consists of these 5 technologies. We have Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, Copilot Studio, Power Pages, and then we have some supporting technologies behind all of these technologies or apps. But yeah, Power Apps. Yep, we have 2 different kind of apps there. I'm going to talk about Canvas apps and model-driven apps. They both have their pros and cons, and when should we be using either. And then we have Power Automate, and as the name says, it's for the automations. You can build process automation with that, and also some tiny integrations as well. Then I think the most familiar with most is the Power BI. It's a business analytics tool. So basically you're building reports with Power BI. Then we have Copilot Studio. You can build your own copilots and chatbots with Copilot Studio using the organization's own data. And then if you need to have a website, you can use Power Pages to build internal and external facing portals to the web. And then behind the scenes, we have Dataverse, which is the database and quite good engine to running these things. And then we have tons, even thousands of data connectors, so you can connect these solutions to other systems as well. Then you can build some AI capabilities with AI Builder, and then we have Power FX, which is the common function language that most of these tools utilize as well. And then we have also managed environments behind the scenes as well. But yeah, let's dive into these one by one, or actually first a couple of words about why should we be using low code tools. I think first and foremost it's all about the development speed. It is actually really quick to build apps and automations with Power Platform. And when we are able to build these apps and automations quickly, it also gives us cost efficiency. So it does not take that much time, so it ends up to being a bit cheaper than building these from scratch with Pro code. And also, when we can quickly build these apps and automations, then we can quite quickly experiment. We don't need to have huge projects that IT projects usually are. We can just go and build something quickly and see if something comes out of it. And that is something what we do with our customers quite often, is that we have our first meeting, we discuss about the customer need.
Mitä sä puhu mulle siellä?
To whom? Was that the question?
Joo.
Okay, Taru possibly was not on mute. Okay, but yeah, then what we do with the customers is that we go to a meeting, gather the requirements, and then already after that one meeting, we possibly are able to create our first iteration of the app or automation, and then already in the next meeting we can see with the customer that okay, did we get the requirement right, and then it is a whole lot of easier to get the start the app development when we have something concrete on screen. Then low code, I think like plus 5 years ago, there were already low code tools on the market, and I think the first low code tools that were on the market, they were not that great, but since then these have actually become really robust tools. We are working daily with the largest Finnish organizations, so these are enterprise level ready tools. We can actually build almost anything with low code approach. Then it's not only consultancies that can utilize these tools. Also, what we see in customer organizations is that there are people who are using these tools already themselves. These tools are easy to adapt, easy to learn, and quite low cost as well. So we talk about citizen development so that everybody can start building. So if you have something that is really boring or bothersome in your work, you can start building apps and automations to make your life a bit easier with Power Platform. And as mentioned, it is really quick to start building solutions with Power Platform. Also, what we have heard is that people are actually happier in their job when they have these tools in their stack. It increases the employee satisfaction if you can actually do something to make your own job a bit easier and faster to do. And in a bigger picture, I see that low code, it is actually transforming the entire application development landscape. This is going to, I think AI is of course transforming the landscape as well. We are getting results faster and faster, and I think low code and AI, they go hand in hand. So I think we are seeing something huge. This is no more about traditional coding when we are building enterprise applications. I think the direction is really towards that we are using these accelerator tools to build these apps and automations. And I think I also need to mention that low code, we have also other tools available than Microsoft. It is really good to also check what else is out there. But of course, in this session, I'll focus on Microsoft and Power Platform. But yeah, then to the technologies. Power Automate, you see here a screenshot of it, how it looks like. And I'm going to demo it in closer detail soon. But yeah, as mentioned, and as the name says, it's for automations. You can build process automations with it. You can build small integrations between systems with Power Automate, and also quite often when you are building apps, you are also sending some kind of notifications with Power Automate. A lot of the business logic happens actually in Power Automate when you start building apps with Power Canvas apps or model-driven apps. So it also takes care of the business logic. And I would say that Power Automate is the easiest technology of a Power Platform. I would start from learning the basics with Power Automate because it's quite easy drag and drop type of automation thing. And you are actually going to need it because you can think it as a glue between all the other Power Platform technologies. You are going to anyways need it, so it's good to start experimenting first with Power Automate. And what would I learn first is that I would go first to Power Automate website and see what kind of connectors we have available there. Because there are most likely familiar software that you can already start testing it. Would it be a marketing automation platform or your own Gmail, or whatever, but you will get good ideas what kind of automations you can build when you go through the templates and check what connectors are there already available. Then I would build something super simple also myself. For example, quite good example is that you would build an automation that is monitoring your emails, and whenever some email with a specific title arrives, you will fetch the attachment of it and store it to SharePoint. Just building something like as simple as that, just to get familiar with that. That shouldn't take long. Then two scary words, APIs and JSON. These go hand in hand, but you're going to need a basic understanding of APIs. APIs are just endpoints to some other systems, and from APIs you can fetch data and enter data to other systems. And how the data is transferred, it's transferred in JSON format. That is JavaScript object notation abbreviation, but I'll show you how you manage with JSON. It looks a bit scary, but you don't need to be afraid of it. It's just a method of transferring data between systems. And what will help you to get started is that if you have ever used some other low-code automation tools, for example, Zapier, that Power Automate is actually quite similar to that. It's just drag and drop and you have the connectors available. Also, if you are good with Excel functions, then you will be good also with the Power FX. You are going to need Power FX to do some data manipulations as well. Good, that's briefly Power Automate. You will see a bit more later on. Then Power Automate Desktop, and this is other Power Automate solution. It's the RPA solution of Power Automate. And these are actually two completely different things, Power Automate Cloud and Power Automate Desktop. The desktop is for RPA, robotic process automation. This is something that you do. You record scripts on your machine, and when you play them, it actually repeats what you did on your machine. But how is this Power Automate Desktop different from other RPA solutions on the market? Is that you will use it with cloud flows. So the cloud flows you saw on last screen, you can use these simultaneously, and that is not happening with other solutions on the market. And I would say that you are going to need Power Automate Desktop only if you cannot access some other system's data through an API, or if you don't have direct database access, or if there is no ready-made connection on the Cloudflow. So this is your last resort, basically to do some automations, and quite often this is used with legacy apps that do not have modern APIs, for example. But yeah, if I were to start with Power Automate Desktop, I would first go to the Power Automate Desktop app itself and see from the left-hand side what are all the actions available in that tool. Then, after just taking a little look around, what can I do straight away? There are ready-made actions for sending emails, fetching files, etc. There's tons of stuff that you don't need to record. You can just drag and drop the actions to the workflow as well. But yeah, after that, one crucial part what you need to learn when building RPA solutions is that you need to learn the different ways of selecting elements, because there are multiple ways how you can select the element. The robot can recognize elements on screen, or we can spy like the background code values of elements in the apps that you are using on your desktop machine. So I would take a look like different possibilities of selecting elements. That is a crucial part for building RPA automations. Then I would learn looping, and also so that you can do multiple times the same action, so that it will make the automation a bit easier to handle a lot of data. Then it's going to get quite messy quite quickly when you build this, so it's really hard to understand what's happening. So you need to divide the workloads into subflows. So you have your main flow, and then you are triggering subflows of it. Then I'm super lazy to documentate myself any apps or automations I build, but here with Power Automate Desktop, it is actually a must. If you don't document these solutions, then it's going to be quite tricky to anyone else or even yourself later on to understand what's happening. And then one basic concept with RPA is work queues. All the automations should have a work queue. That is the way how the items are being processed. So take a look at work queues as well. And what will help you to get started? Of course, if you have used any other automation tools or test automation systems, this is the same thing. It's not much different. And also, if you have built some macros with Excel, that is quite a similar approach here with the Power Automate Desktop. And of course, I half kiddingly say that the biggest motivator to start building RPA solution is frustration. If you have some processes that you hit your head to the wall multiple times a day, then you quite potentially have a good use case for RPA or cloud automations. Okay, moving further. That was about the automation side of Power Platform. Let's look what we have on the app side. So we have Canvas apps, and these Canvas apps are custom apps that you design from scratch. This is a drag and drop editor for building apps, and this is especially when you need a good user interface. Then you should go to Canvas app. The other possibility was model-driven app, but both of these are quick to set up. But if you need the UI, then you should go towards Canvas apps. And I think you shouldn't be building any large, for example, ERP systems with Canvas apps. I think it's best when you are building this kind of a specific purpose apps with that. For example, let's say to field service, some kind of a metering app or reading barcodes, just like focus on single task in single app, and then it is quite quick to develop and easy to maintain. I have seen people trying to build huge apps with Canvas apps, and that is quite common mistake in the beginning, trying to embed it all in one Canvas app. But you can easily use multiple Canvas apps, so you don't need to stuff everything into one. You can just whip up a new app for another purpose. And Canvas apps, they excel in mobile use cases, and of course when good user interface is needed. And what will help you get started is that back in the day, Microsoft said that if you know how to use Excel and PowerPoint, then you are good to go with Canvas apps. It's almost a reality, but it is good if you have some basic understanding of Power FX or programming, then it will help you a bit in the beginning. You are writing a lot of functions and formulas with Canvas apps. And as we are talking about a tool where you can define the user interface as you like, then it is really good if you have UI experience as well, because quite often the developers do not have eye to the details, so to say. So it is really good if you can build Canvas app and you know also how it should look like. That would be a good talent to have. But yeah, how I build the solutions is that first I take pen and paper and I just draw out the screens that will be in the app, and I think like which button should be on which screen, and only after then I go and start building the app. And then when you start building Canvas apps, the default controls, they look ugly. So take a look how to customize the default controls. It is super easy, but that is something that you should pay attention to. And also when you start then building the actual app, you quite often need to have some data stored somewhere. So you need to have a database. Would it be some other app or Dataverse or SharePoint list? You should learn how to read data from a data source and how to write the data back. And also you should, as mentioned, take a look how Power FX, how the function language works. Then the other option is model-driven apps. And yeah, as you can see, it's not that flashy looking. Almost all the model-driven apps look the same. And this is something that I'm going to demo still today, how to build this kind of a quick model-driven app. But yeah, basically, quite often you have a good use case for a model-driven app when you have Excel-based or Access-based process or app already in place. So if your business is running in Excel, then it is quite often the case that it would make sense to have a model-driven app instead. These are really good with relational data. So basically, you are building tables that have joins between the tables, and the origins of model-driven apps are actually in dynamic CRM. So if you happen to have used dynamic CRM earlier, this is the same engine. So that's why these are used quite often for CRM and member registry purposes and so forth. And creating these model-driven apps is actually super fast because you have already the layout there. You just need to define the tables and columns. And I'll show you more later on. But yeah, how to get started here is that first you should understand what are solutions. They are the packages that move between the environments. Everything is built through a solution in Power Platform. And there you will define the tables and fields first, and then also the related columns that will join the tables. Those are called lookup columns. And then you need to learn how to customize views, forms, subgrids, and the navigation of the app. And this is actually something that you can already learn in an hour or two, the very basics, and then you're good to go to start building apps. That mentioned, yeah, it's super easy to get started, but the model-driven apps, they actually have a ton of features behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff that you can automate and get ready to yourself out of the box when you start building apps with model-driven apps. And what is especially useful is that if you have any understanding of databases and relational data, that will help you to get started with model-driven apps because you are building a database here. You just happen to have the graphical editor ready for it. And yeah, if you're familiar with dynamic CRM, then that's going to also help to get along with model-driven apps. All right, then Power Pages. This is the website creator and quite often used with the external users accessing the Dataverse data. So if your process needs that, you need to get an input from your customer, or if you want to show some data from your own business apps to your customer, then Power Pages is the way to go. And I'm warning here a bit that this is the least low-code tool in Power Platform. I wouldn't start from learning Power Pages. It will come later on, but it can get a bit trickier at some point. And I would say that it can be a really good decision for some cases. For example, building a support ticket portal, there are ready-made templates for it. But if you start building like huge websites, then this might not be that great decision. So here you need to consider from time to time if the website should be built anyways in some other technology. But we have this in Stack, so it's worth looking how you can build websites also with Power Pages. And what you should know about Power Pages is the licensing. It's licensed a bit differently than the other tools in Power Platform. Also, you should understand what are the limits of the out-of-the-box functionality and also how you can extend the functionality. When you know these, then you can make your good estimate if it's going to be a good solution to have take Power Pages as a solution for the website. And then just highlighting that it will also have a bit different security model than Dataverse, so you need to be familiar so that you are not in accident revealing too much data outside your organization. And of course, when we are talking about a use case that will provide or will open up the data to external website, then yes, you need to know what you are doing. And what will help you to get started is if you have any website experience beforehand. If you have built a website, you are quite likely familiar with HTML and CSS and JavaScript. And then also, this is a website project, the customers want the portals or the Power Pages to look like the website, to look like their own website. So it's good to have the client's design guidelines at hand as well. And these are actually built on top of model-driven apps. So I think, yeah, it makes sense to first learn model-driven apps before even trying to go to Power Pages. Good. Then Power BI. Yes, it is a tool to visualize data. It's an analytics tool, and I think most of our apps, they are going to need a Power BI report. So there is always something that you need to report out of as an outcome of a business app. But it is not only a reporting tool. There is actually a lot of features on Power BI service and also on Microsoft Fabric. That is the data warehouse running on Power BI as well. For example, you can use the Power BI service to generate PDF files. You can have this kind of report, and then you can automatize the PDF file generation out of it. And what you can do with Power BI is that you can embed the reports to be part of your apps or your model-driven apps or Canvas apps. So that can actually take, in quite many cases, that can take a lot of. It will help you to build the whole app if you can just add a nice looking charts and slicers to your app itself, for example, as a front page to show the overall situation. So that's what we do quite often. But yeah, I have to admit that Power BI, that is a bit separate island from rest of the Power Platform. Usually there are different people who are building the reports and different people who are focusing on apps and automations. But I would say that if you want to become a good Power Platform specialist, you need to at least learn the basics. You need to be able to create super simple charts on Power BI. That is really essential skill, at least in my mind. And how to get started with Power BI is that you can just take some Excel data and put that to Power BI, and you can then start experimenting how the visualizations, etc. work. Then you should understand basic stuff, that how to use calendar tables and measure tables, and how you can bring in data from multiple data sources. That is the whole thing with Power Platform, that you can unify the data from different sources. So you need to also understand how to join tables. And then we have Power Query and DAX. These are like the programming languages in Power BI. Just learn the basics of that, and I have seen that ChatGPT actually helps a lot. It's really good with DAX to write you some formulas. Also possibly with Power FX, so that helps us Power Platform developers daily, and especially in these functions. And if you have any background with Excels and pivoting data there, then it will be super easy to get started with Power BI. It's quite similar stuff what you are doing with Power BI. Okay, then this Dataverse that I mentioned. Yeah, even I say that it's a database, but actually Dataverse is not just a database. It has a lot of stuff that comes out of the box, stuff that has been taken care of. It provides APIs, it provides webhooks, it takes care of the security to the data. So quite often in the beginning, you are tempted to use some other database for your apps, but I would say that the first database for the apps you should be using Dataverse, because that is connected to all of the Power Platform technologies. It's ready available. For example, Power BI connects to that super quickly, and you will get all of these features at once. Otherwise, you end up building those yourself, and that is going to be painful. So if you can, use Dataverse as a database for your apps. Okay, then Copilot Studio. I'm not going to dive into closer detail in Copilot Studio. It's all about AI, so you're going to end up seeing a lot of more about Copilot Studio anyways. But yeah, just quickly, it is a tool that you can use to build these own chatbots or copilots and these intelligent agents in your organization. You can connect that to your own organization data, and then the bot becomes aware of that data. And you can just, if you have used ChatGPT, then it can answer in a similar fashion. So it's using these large language models as an interface to the actual end user. And what is nice here is that you have this kind of these actions here. So when you have a discussion with the bot, you can ask it actually to do something with your business data. And you have the whole Power Automate connectors behind the scenes, so that makes this actually quite nice way to build apps in an organizations. And I think that is something that you might want to consider first. Like, do I want this to work as a chat-based application, or does this require an app itself? But yeah, this is definitely a direction where we are going. Then this is something that I also keep repeating to everybody, also in our own company. Remember to use the whole platform. Yes, if you know, for example, Canvas apps really well, that is really good, but then you might be missing out on something. I would say that you need to learn the basics of the whole Power Platform, so then you will be able to say if this is better to build as a model-driven app or as a Canvas app, for example. With one technology, you can get really good results, but you can actually make a bit mistakes. And what we see quite often with new people who are starting with Power Platform is that everybody wants to do Canvas apps, and they forgot that, okay, model-driven app exists, and they spend hundreds of hours building that as a Canvas app, even if it would have been just like a 10-hour job as a model-driven app to achieve the same end result. And that's why I keep pushing that you should learn the basics of all of these technologies. You don't need to be master at everything, and you cannot be. This is a huge platform, and it's going to take a while so that you can know the basics on a sufficient level, but the very basics are quick to learn on all of these technologies. And yeah, there are always multiple ways in Power Platform how you can build the solutions. So that's why you need to know which way to go. And then that's not all. I already mentioned that you can embed Power BI almost anywhere that can and should be part of your apps. But then you can, for example, with Canvas apps, you can embed a Canvas app to a Power BI report. And that means that in Power BI, you have data in visualized format that you have analyzed, but then you can actually pass that data to a Canvas app, and then from that Canvas app, it can continue the business process. Then if the model-driven app's user interface is not decent enough, then you can embed a Canvas app in some places so that it will make it a bit more useful. And also, if you have some nice app that your internal users are already using, but you would also your customers or stakeholders to use it, you can embed a Canvas app to Power Pages as well. And of course, Power Automate flows you can trigger from anywhere. And one tip is that what our customers usually really like is that when we build an app or report, we embed those to Microsoft Teams. Everybody have their Microsoft Teams open the whole day, so So they don't need to navigate to some other place to open up an app they need to do their work. It's already there in Microsoft Teams. But yeah, when you start building these solutions, you'll notice quite quickly that something like this happens. Dataverse is in the center that will gather the data from, for example, you can get external data from an API. You can have your own business database to fetch the data with Power Automate that is going to be stored in Dataverse. Then model-driven apps are quite often these kind of admin apps. You will create views for the whole data so that admins can go there and manipulate the data or bulk the data update the data in bulk. And then you will have multiple of these specific purpose apps, the barcode readers, etc., which are designed to just to do one thing only, so that it stays easy to maintain and really easy for the end users to use. And then for reporting purposes, you're going to use the Power BI. And then, yeah, Microsoft Teams, as mentioned, is quite often at least used for notifications so that you don't get bombarded of emails. If you need to take an action, you can send a notification to Microsoft Teams, and then the end user can already take the action in Microsoft Teams so that they don't need to even open up an app. Good. Then how to design a Power Platform solutions. This is going to take a bit time, but how I do it is that when I hear about the new case, if I notice that, okay, I don't know actually if low-code solution is good for that, I usually test the potential technical pitfalls first. Then, as mentioned, I use pen and paper for drafting the apps and reports. And then I discuss with the customer about the goals of the automation or app. What should be the KPIs, and that will give you the ground for the Power BI report that you are about to build. Then you need to understand where does the data come from and where it should go, and what data should we be storing. And as already mentioned, you should be designing it by the functionality. So for example, if you have the admin tasks, then quite likely you need a model-driven app, and then think about how to split the Canvas apps into multiple apps. But yeah, then there are just small apps and automations that do not require the whole of the platform. If it's super simple, you will be good just with a Canvas app or just with a model-driven app. You don't always need it, but if it's larger, then quite often you are utilizing the whole of the platform. And as mentioned, show don't tell. It is super quick to get the first versions ready. That our customers appreciate a lot that they can take part on the iterative process of building these solutions. Then what we have actually built, here are some examples what we have built. I'm not going to go through those. If you have the time, you can go to our website, to our app gallery. Let me show if I have it here open. And here are examples what we have built. You can go here and then see some other screens and also descriptions as what is it using and what is technology being used on that. Good. Then we have about 20 minutes to go through the demo. I try to be quick so that I can cover it all. There is a question, Hassan. If it's a quick one, I can take it soon.
Yeah, so I'll try to be quick. In the examples that you showed in the gallery, are they like production level projects that you have done? Because when we also studied like the Power Platform courses under Microsoft, it was more implied that this kind of demos are more suitable when you are trying to onboard your client and you are showing a solution made with low code, no code, which would be later developed with actual development team and everything. So just wanted to know this,
Actually,
how much it is.
Those are not the largest projects that we have. these are simple examples, something that we can use as a start to discuss what kind of apps and automations we can build to your organization. So you are correct. Those are really good openers to get the ideas, and then with these, then you can start specifying how your actual solution will be. Good question. But yeah, let's dive into the demo. And here, this is JSON that I mentioned. It is just objects that are limited with some special characters, and this is actually an API as well. I'm using this kind of a REST countries API. That is a public API, and this returns me all the countries with their capitals as a nice data set. And now I want this data to go to Dataverse and to my model-driven app and to Power BI, and I'll show you how it's done. And the purpose here is that you won't be afraid of APIs and JSON. You will see that it's totally doable for everyone. But yep, I have here my demo environment ready. Make.powerapps.com. That's the place where you build these solutions. I go to solution. As mentioned, this is the package where you should be putting all the bits and pieces of your apps and automations together. And this will be country management. I choose a publisher and then create. Now I have the package ready, and now I can start actually building the solution. And what I first need to have, I check the API here. I have the name and capital. This is just super simple example. So I need to have a table for these countries and columns for this data, what I'm about to fetch. So I go here, new table with advanced properties, and it will be country demo. And I check the primary column, its name. So one column is already ready, and it has length of 850 characters. So that's creating the table first with one column. And what you will see is that actually it creates a lot of other columns straight away, which is really handy, because this is the name column that you saw, but then we have 20 other columns here as well. And it will show you automatically to all the records that are being created, like when it was created, who created it, what is the status of it, who is the owner of the record, who modified on it. This gives you this kind of ability that you would need to develop otherwise. With Dataverse and model-driven apps, you have it there straight away when a new table is created, and it takes care of updating it also. When someone modifies, then the modified on column gets updated as well. So that's super nice. Then it does not have the capital column ready. So let's add the capital here as well. Capital, it's a single line of text. We have different kind of columns here. And then I check that, okay, it's going to need to be a bit longer, 400 characters. I'll save it. And I'll go and publish the customizations. So then I have that country demo table in my Dataverse. There are a lot of ready-made tables in Dataverse. So you have that kind of a business database ready there, but you can easily create these custom tables as well. So for example, organizations and contacts, you don't need to create those tables yourself, and those you quite often need in business apps. Those are there ready for you with the columns that quite often are needed when we are talking about organizations and contacts. Okay, hopefully this does not take too long. Okay, just a moment. I open. Okay, now it went through. No need to revert. But yeah, then I have the table there ready. Then let's build the flow, the cloud flow, Power Automate flow, automation, cloud flow. let's make it instant, to fetch the data from that REST countries API. And I skip the default settings, but here first I define the trigger. Now I make it totally manual, so it will be triggered only when I want. Then I rename it fetch data, and then I add a new step, HTTP. This is used with the APIs. Method will be get, and then I just come here and copy the URL of this API. I don't need any authentication or anything because this is a public API. Then I click save, and let's see if we are able to fetch some data through that API. Test manually. And yep, it went through. And I open now. When you see these icons, then you see that you are checking the actual run, not editing it anymore. And here we have the data set. What I do is that I copy paste the JSON, what we have here, and I go back to edit, and I make it so that we can actually do something with that data set. I choose parse JSON, and I will choose content will be the body. So I'm referring to the previous action here, and then I go to generate from sample. I just add my JSON payload here and click done. It will give me automatically that schema of the JSON data what we have here. So we have the capital, name, and independent Boolean columns. I click save, and then I need to use the Microsoft Dataverse action. I want to store the data in Dataverse, and here we should have the country demo table somewhere. Yep, and I just map the columns. The name will be name. So and what you possibly saw, it added this apply to each. It noticed that there are actually multiple rows in this data set, so it's going to loop through all of the data. Then I also map the capital and click save. And then I'm going to test it. What is going to happen? Let's see if it's successful. It's running. And it takes a little while to process all the rows, but quite soon we should be seeing the end result of this. And you can, okay, now we got some kind of error with this. Of course, there is a demo effect. But yeah, what it should be doing is it fetches the data if it just scrolls through and adds those row by row to the app itself. Then I'm not going to wait because we're running out of time. Let's go back to the solution. We have now the data in Dataverse, but we don't see it anywhere. So what we need to do is that we come to the solution and we create a new app, a model-driven app. This is quite typical model-driven app case. And here I just choose the tables that I want to show there and also the views and forms that I mentioned. So I'm going to just add a page, Dataverse table, and then I search for the country demo. It's already here in the navigation, and I have the views here. I want to modify the view. Now it would only show the name of it, and I go here and edit it. To save it first, and then I add the capital as a second column, and I leave it like that. I save and publish this. So that's done. And then I also want to see that on the form, when I open the record, I would also have the capital here as a column. So I need to just drag and drop these to the form. And I move it here freely. And you can customize the form a lot, but now don't have the time to do that. So this is going to be just a super simple example how to get started with the model-driven app customizations. And then I should have everything ready. The data didn't go in, it seems, but I go here and click play anyways, so that I can show you how to add the data, or how the model-driven app actually functions. So it's running here on demo test environment, and this is how it actually looks like. So I have the country demo table here, and I can add a new row here, like name is Finland, capital is Helsinki, and save and close. Now we have a fully functional app for managing country data. So I think it's a bit simplified example, but I think you will get the idea. It's super quick to do this, and we have a lot of stuff here that's already available. For example, if I wanted to have all the data as an Excel file, I can just open it into Excel. I can import data from Excel. I can visualize the data with Power BI. I can trigger flows from here. Good. Then Power BI. Luckily, I prepared this a bit in advance. So I have here now countries table, just a similar table, but this actually has some data in it. So in Power BI, you can connect to Dataverse just by clicking to Dataverse, and let's see what kind of data we have in here. I just drag and drop to this table visualization. Then let's add some KPI. Let's count the number of countries we have, and then we could do different kind of visualizations here. Whatever would be a good purpose. I don't have really good demo data here, but basically just connect the data set to Power BI, then choose the visualization, choose the columns, and then if you need some formulas, then you just write in the DAX code, you double click here, create a new column or measure, and that's how you get started with Power BI. Good. Yep. Then I had a couple of words about landing a job in low code. I think the low code market is blooming right now. There is a lot of demand for people who have low code skills, and I would say that it's easier to find a job as a low code developer right now than it is as a pro code developer. There are a lot of pro code developers available, but not that many low code developers. And what I already mentioned, I appreciate if someone can handle multiple of these Power Platform technologies, not only just Canvas apps. If you know Canvas apps, model-driven apps, you know basics of Power Automate and Power BI, then you should be quite good. And of course, when applying for a job, it would be nice if you had put the effort, if you had built something yourself, so that you can showcase that to the potential employer. And yeah, we at Forward Forever, we have a trainee program. The last round just began in January, and I think the next one is going to begin also next year. So the application round for that is going to start in late autumn, I would say. But if you already have Power Platform skills, you can always leave also open applications to our careers website, careers.forwardforever.com. And I think that's it. We still have a couple of minutes for questions, and I think there, Hassan, you had your hands up first, so.
Yeah, thank you very much. And it's a really good presentation. Thanks for bringing those things in forward. I have a question about the trainee program.
Yep.
You told about like applicants' profile and everything. What kind of skills would you like to see demonstrated in a profile? As for example, more projects on Power App or Power Automate or Power BI. The reason I'm asking because Power BI has its own professional side, like Power BI analytics or Power BI analysts. So just wondering, like, what kind of profile would you like to see in this case? Thanks.
Yep. Well, if you're interested in building the apps and automations morally, then yeah, of course, have those as your showcases. But you at least mention that you also can Power BI, or if you have built something, it really it doesn't need to be anything super or complicated that you have built Power BI. At least to me, it matters that you know that you can get started with Power BI, that you already know how to connect to the data set and to do some simple calculations. So it really depends if you want to focus on the data side of Power Platform or on the apps and automate side of Power Platform. That should consist of your main showpieces on your CV. Good. Any other questions? Okay, good. I think the recording and the slides can be shared. Vibha will most likely communicate where to find these. So
yes, thank you so much, Lasse. I think this was a wonderful kind of a session with just the right amount of information for the time that we had.
okay,
and
good.
I think I'm sure that this kind of gives the great start for everyone who's trying to pursue the learning in low code area with Power Platform. Thank you so much. We will, I think, together with Sanna, we will publish the recording on the YouTube channel for Mimmit Koodaa. And please reach out if there's anything else that you'd like to know. The next session will be on 29th of April. So I hope to see most of you there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, and feel free to drop me a message on LinkedIn if you have any Power Platform questions or anything that wonders you. Feel free to connect me on LinkedIn as well. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take
See
care.
ya. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.